everybody, thanks for checking out this video. I'm your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and these are the horror movie superlatives for 2007. So after you watch my video, you go to my buddy Carlin's channel in this series that we collaborate together. I'll have a link in the description down below. Watch his video with the same name, and then you can go to the community tab page, if you'd like, on his page, and vote for who you thought had the better selections. Also, let us know what your picks are in the comments down below. We love reading and talking horror. That's the whole part of this, that we can all share our opinions on these movies. So, let's get down to it. I'm going to pick out my horror movie superlatives for 2007. For my most amazing pick, a pick that's probably going to be in a lot of people's list, Trick or Treat. This movie is easily one of the best horror anthologies in the last 20 years. It's not your typical horror anthology where each story is separate from another. Here they're all kind of interconnected, and that's executed so well. There are jumps in times that occur, but it never lets you feeling confused as to what's going on. It kind of keeps you, intrigued with what is going on. All these segments, they give you something a little bit different. There are stories of revenge, redemption, classic monster stories. You get your evil person gets their comeuppance type parts. I will say, the werewolf transformation is pure gold. Sam, very fun antagonist. I love how he shows up in all the stories. Everything is tied together so well. The performances are great in this film, especially Anna Paquin and Dylan Baker. Special effects are really good, the use of practical and CGI. And when there is CGI, it looks good, and those are balanced very well. The balance of human horror is also very well in this movie. And it's a horror anthology that can also be a franchise, so I would love to see a sequel to this movie. And I think if it had the same director and writers, it could be really, really a lot of fun. The film captures the true spirit of Halloween, from the costumes and traditions to the dark, mischievous undertones of the entire holiday. Fun time. The entire movie is pretty much a love letter to Halloween itself, making it a seasonal must-watch. My pick for the best So Bad It's Good film goes to Drive Thru. When I saw the poster for this movie, it looked kind of intriguing, and I thought it would be fun, and it was. And that's what I want from a So Bad It's Good movie, a movie you can have fun with and not take too seriously. If you haven't heard of this film, it's about a group of teenagers in a small town where they encounter a murderous clown mascot named Horny the Clown. He's the killer mascot of a fast food chain called Hella Burger. He likes to target local high schoolers, and the main character, Mackenzie, she becomes the focus of Horny's killing spree. She uncovers that her parents and their friends were involved in the dark secret of their youth, which ties to Horny's rampage, which sounds very much like an infamous horror slasher villain called Freddy Krueger. Horny even loves to make puns when he's killing his victims. So the film mixes gory kills with sarcastic humor, delivering a campy vibe that just is kind of fun to have. It leans heavily on the comical side, with some fun inventive fast food related kills. And yeah, it's a mix of fast food, killer clowns, cheesy one-liners, making it a quirky, so bad it's good style horror flick that you could probably have a little bit of fun with. My pick for the most WTF film goes to The Girl Next Door. To be the most WTF film of the year, you need more than just one WTF moment. I know some of you guys are probably thinking The Mist because of that WTF ending, but that's the only real WTF in that movie, and I feel like The Girl Next Door is filled with constant WTF. Not the same type of WTF in The Mist, but because this was one that was a shock to the system when David sees the military after he just murdered all his people. But the WTF in The Girl Next Door is a constant state of dread and sorrow you feel in this movie. Watching this poor young girl, what she had to endure is beyond sickening. Meg had to endure starvation, ridicule, torture, beatings, rape, mutilation, and she had to watch her young sister being abused as well. The movie's kind of sickening to watch. I don't like watching this movie. I made a video a while back called 10 Great Movies I'll Never Watch Again. It's not that it's a bad movie. It's just a really tough movie to sit through. I read the book by Jack Ketchum about Sylvia Likens that this movie is based on. The book is more horrifying than the movie. It's one of the few books that actually gave me nightmares. Now, since this film is based on the real-life tragedy that befell on Sylvia and Susan Likens, knowing that something like this really happened, it makes you really hit hard with it, and it kind of emphasizes that WTF feel, and that's what you're left saying when this movie's over. Like, WTF, why did this have to happen? So more of a shock value, just a constant dread of WTF. My pick for best gore, Saw 4. The Saw franchise is known for its elaborate and gruesome death traps, and Saw 4 it continues that tradition. The traps aren't just like visually horrifying, they're just so detailed, making each one of them stand out. And I can see how some of these traps can be anybody's favorite. I still cringe at the beginning part where the guy rips his lips open. And one thing I said about before about the gore in the Saw franchise, it's more than just the violence and the gore, it's the psychological effect of the trap. The torment that these victims are put through makes that gore more impactful. Knowing that the person technically can't survive, but it's not going to be easy and they're going to have to do something horrific and, life changing, life altering, makes that gore a psychological tool as well. The scalp ripping scene is just gruesome to watch. The hotel clerk's death is very satisfying. I like how it slowly increases the tension as you're waiting for this scumbag to die. When you're watching Cecil, the man responsible for the death of John Kramer's unborn son, he's slowly slicing his face open. You can almost feel it yourself. I just love the attention to detail on how the human body is torn apart. It just adds to the horror. Yeah, each of the bloody moments in this movie, just where the characters have to face physical consequences for their actions, it adds like this thematic depth to the gore. That it doesn't make it feel as gratuitous as some other movies, but it's more part to the story of how everything is layered to the psychological horror and physical violence we get here. My most unique selection goes to Inside. I also could see this movie in a WTF category, and it does deserve to be there. I already picked a movie I felt was a little bit more WTF, but Inside is a very unique horror movie. It stands out because it pushes boundaries and taps into primal fears most films really wouldn't dare to explore. The intruder in the movie, only known as the woman, she's just determined to take Sarah's unborn baby, and it's just relentless in what she's willing to do. And the film also like traps into like a mother's worst nightmare. Somebody trying to take her child, which is the most innocent of all people, and that person isn't even safe in this movie. The woman she's dealing with loss as well, and it's another reason I feel this movie is so unique because it gives you a little bit of empathy and disgust for the woman. Sarah, she's an underrated protagonist, I feel. She's in a very vulnerable position, but she also has this intense desire to protect her and, most importantly, her baby. There aren't many horror movies like Inside. It pushes boundaries, it creates visual tension that makes you feel nervous and unsettled. Like you're asking yourself, are they going to go there? Horror movies that tap into real life terrors are the kind of horror movies that can actually, the horrors that can really happen. They're far more frightening than any monster, ghost, or unkillable type of slasher, villain in a movie. Like the true scary movies for me are the ones that remind us that the most terrifying things are grounded in reality. And for me, that's what makes Inside the most unique horror movie of 2007. For most overrated, I'm going with 28 Weeks Later. I'm not a fan of this franchise. I even picked 28 Days Later as my most overrated horror film of 2003. And I think 28 Weeks Later is even less inspiring than its predecessor. I just think it fails as a sequel because it doesn't really build anything new. It just rides on the coattails of the success of the original. And the film does exactly what Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead did. It shifts the focus and atmosphere of dread to just pure action. I think the sequel missed the opportunity to explore like the new world, how everything is going to live. There wasn't enough focus on what the world is like now. How are people going to try and adjust to society? It's just pure action, scene after action scene, and doesn't like explore like the human struggle in the aftermath or how people are living now. Yeah, I just think 28 Weeks Later offers even less emotional investment in the characters. No one stood out enough to make me root for them or even care about their fate in this movie. Just kind of created an emotional disconnect, and it's one of the major flaws that I think holds this film back from being a better horror movie. But I just didn't feel it. I think everything just falls flat with this movie. Wrapping things up with most underrated and, like Carlin, becoming one of my favorite categories, Rob Zombie's Halloween. I know what some of you are thinking, but I don't care. I love this movie. It's not my favorite Halloween movie in the franchise, but it's one of my more favorite ones in the franchise. Rob Zombie went with nurture over nature, and as the reasons why Michael Myers became a killer. And I'm not taking anything away from John Carpenter's masterpiece. It's my favorite slasher movie of all time. But I will say, Rob Zombie made this film his own. And I do think the third act of the film, where it's more of a closer shot-for-shot remake of the original, is pretty fantastic. Tyler Mane as Michael Myers is just a beast. he comes off as way more unforgiving and eviler than Nick Castle's performance. Not saying it's better, it's just different, and I really do like it. John Carpenter's Michael Myers is more of a silent stalking killer. Rob Zombie's Michael Myers is more like a tank just destroying everything in his path. And that's what I expect from a modern remake. I like that things ramp it up just a little bit. You're changing just a little enough to modernize it. And it does have that Rob Zombie flair, which is about all the characters in the movie are either unlikable or detestable. You know, but I think that's what gave me more appreciation for this film is after I watched the documentary Michael Lives, the making of Rob Zombie's Halloween. It's like 4 hours and 20 minutes long, but I was just so enthralled into it. I think I watched it 2 or 3 times last year. And I can't forget to mention one of my favorite horror actors, Brad Dourif, the voice of Chucky. He's great in here, and he's pretty much great in anything that he's in. And I've said this before, you know, we all like and dislike different things. I say, love what you love. Never apologize for enjoying movies that other people seem to hate. Because I, unapologetically, really, really enjoy Rob Zombie's Halloween, my pick for the most underrated horror film of 2007. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are all my horror movie superlatives for 2007. Here's a quick recap of my picks. Don't forget to like Carl and I know what your picks are in the comments down below. And if you haven't already, you can go to Carl's channel, link in the description down below. Watch his video with the same name. Then if you like, you can community tab on his page and vote for who you thought had the better picks. See you here in 2 weeks when we cover our horror movie superlatives for 2008. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to both of our channels. Just takes a moment, really helps us out. We put a lot of great content throughout the week. I'll see you soon, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Until next time, I am your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete. And remember, with great kills, there must also come great deaths.